Instead, they said, I'm unhappy and I want out. And that is not the way she ever led her life. So I think she finds it difficult to understand. But once again, there's nothing she can do about it. So she just lets it glide over her.
An 88-year-old princess made a move so bold it could no palace memo, no polished explanation from Clarence House. Behind those locked doors in the late hours, no press alert. All went down in pure silence. Shake the royal calm King Charles spent decades trying to protect. Princess Alexandra, the Queen Mother's loyal niece and keeper of her deepest secrets, finally carried out a plan that had been waiting in the shadows for over 20 years. Picture this scene. An old velvet box marked with the initials QM, sealed for decades like it held the crown's heartbeat itself. Inside were jewels that hadn't seen daylight since Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, passed in 2002. And there was Princess Alexandra, one of the last threads tying today's royal family to that old-school dignity, placing that same box into the trembling hands of Catherine, the Princess of Wales. Here's the part that turns this whole moment into a straight-up bombshell. Queen Camilla was fully bypassed, not asked, not told, not even given a hint. The sitting Queen Consort of the United Kingdom treated like she wasn't even in the room. Why would Princess Alexandra take a step this sharp, this deliberate, and honestly, this risky? And the bigger question, what in the world was inside that velvet box that made Alexandra willing to spark a royal crisis? What I'm about to drop will flip your whole understanding of the monarchy's polished image. We're talking secret prophecies, hidden wills, and promises whispered in someone's final moments now creeping back into the light. This isn't just about jewels, this is about loyalty, legacy, and the fight for the monarchy's true identity. Ready? Because this story runs deeper than anyone expected. To understand how heavy this moment is, we have to rewind, way back, to the final years of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother's life. Most people saw her as the sweet grandmother of the nation, always smiling, always gracious, a woman who lived past 100 with her charm untouched. But behind that gentle smile was someone who knew power like few ever have. She survived the abdication crisis when her brother-in-law walked away from the throne for love. She stood beside King George VI during World War II while bombs fell across London. She watched her daughter take the crown and face decades of scandal and change. Through all of that, she learned one giant truth. The survival of the monarchy depends on choosing the right people to protect its legacy. Near the end of her life, palace insiders say the Queen Mother grew deeply worried about what lay ahead. She saw how Diana's passing tore the family apart. She watched how Charles and Camilla's relationship shifted from scandal territory into cautious acceptance. And then she made a decision that still echoes through the palace halls, according to those close to the royal vault. The Queen Mother quietly changed her will. Not the public version, but a private one, written separately, containing her wishes for her most personal treasures. These weren't crown jewels or state property. These were her jewels, the ones she wore, loved, and guarded. These pieces symbolized a queen consort who carried herself with dignity during the darkest times in Britain's history. And in that secret document, she didn't mince words. Those jewels were meant for the future queen who would represent grace, not ambition, dignity, not someone desperate for attention. She didn't mention Camilla, not once. She didn't need to. The message was clear enough to cut glass. But here's where the whole thing twists into something even wilder. The Queen Mother didn't stop at instructions. She left a prophecy. One palace insider, speaking anonymously, revealed she wrote about a queen of silent strength, a woman who would one day help guide the monarchy back to solid moral ground. She described this future queen so specifically that when Catherine entered the royal family years later, Princess Alexandra instantly recognized her as the woman the Queen Mother had written about. Yes, you read that right. The Queen Mother may have described Catherine long before William ever proposed. Call it intuition or experience, but she spent almost a century watching royal power dynamics, so she knew exactly the kind of woman the monarchy would need in the future. Now let's talk about the woman who was chosen to protect this prophecy, Princess Alexandra. If you're not familiar with her, that's exactly the way she likes it. Princess Alexandra, the Honourable Lady Ogilvy, is now 88 years old. She's the Queen's cousin, daughter of Prince George, Duke of Kent, and Princess Marina of Greece and Denmark. More importantly, she was the Queen Mother's treasured niece and one of the few people trusted fully by her. While other royals made headlines and chased cameras, Alexandra stuck to the old traditions: discretion, duty, and loyalty above everything. She carried out thousands of royal engagements without stirring a single scandal. She didn't want fame, she wanted honor, and because of that, the Queen Mother entrusted her with the family's most sacred secret. According to those close to her, Alexandra carried this responsibility quietly for over 20 years, watching, waiting, observing, until she knew it was time. That sign appeared when she watched Catherine. Not the Catherine splashed across tabloids, but the woman who managed insult after insult with steady calm. The Catherine who faced relentless media pressure without snapping back. The Catherine who entered one of the world's most intense families and still held on to her sense of self. Alexandra saw exactly what the Queen Mother had described, a woman whose strength came from grace, not noise. And so, on one unforgettable night that will go down in royal history, she made her move. Alexandra didn't hesitate. She finally made her move. The secret meeting that flipped the entire royal narrative began on a night no one at the palace saw coming. Let me take you inside what reportedly unfolded at Clarence House that evening. It was late, well past 10 p.m. Most palace staff had already clocked out, and the official records showed nothing unusual. No visitors, no scheduled meetings, nothing. Yet Alexandra arrived quietly, unannounced, carrying a velvet box that had been locked inside her personal safe for over 2 decades. Catherine was there alone. No aides, no security inside the room, not even William, just her. Some insiders believe this meeting was arranged through hidden channels, with coded messages passed through the few people Alexandra trusted completely. Others think Alexandra simply walked in, confident that Catherine would instantly understand what an unexpected late-night visit from a senior royal truly meant. What happened next, according to several accounts, shifted the entire course of royal history. Alexandra placed the velvet box on the table between them. The box itself already looked like a relic: deep burgundy velvet, brass hinges dulled by age, and the faded gold initials QM pressed into the surface. Alexandra reportedly said just 3 words: "These belong to you." It wasn't a request. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a statement. Catherine, according to those who later learned her side, was stunned into silence. She knew exactly what the box meant, what it hinted at, and what this moment could trigger within the family. "I can't," she reportedly whispered. "These should go to—" "They go where she intended," Alexandra cut in, her voice steady with nearly 9 decades of conviction. "Not where protocol demands, where she intended." Then Alexandra opened the box, and that was the moment everything changed. Because what was inside wasn't just jewellery, it was a piece of royal history wrapped in velvet. The centerpiece was instantly recognizable to anyone who followed royal tradition: the Queen Mother's guardian brooch. Not an ordinary brooch. This was the one she wore during Queen Elizabeth II's coronation in 1953 and during her most meaningful public appearances. In royal symbolism, it represented her role as the silent protector of the monarchy's values. After her death, many assumed the brooch had been placed into the Crown's official collection or tucked away in the royal vault. But everyone was wrong. Alexandra had been protecting it all this time, and that wasn't the only treasure inside the box. Sources later revealed it also held a strand of pearls worn by the Queen Mother during her final public appearance, a pair of diamond earrings gifted by King George VI, a sapphire ring once worn by Queen Mary, and most shocking of all, a folded piece of parchment sealed with wax. That parchment is what turned this moment from meaningful to historic. Inside was a handwritten letter penned by the Queen Mother herself, ink now faded on yellowed paper, a message that brought Catherine to tears the first time she read it. "To the future Queen who carries grace, not pride," it began. "These jewels represent worth, not wealth, principle, not power. They have been worn by women who understood that serving the crown means surrendering oneself to something greater than ambition." The words continued, each line sharper, deeper, more revealing than the last. "If you are reading this, it means you have been chosen, not by me, though I prayed for someone like you, but by your own character, by your strength to endure without anger, to serve without seeking spotlight, to love without losing yourself. Wear these not as ornaments, but as reminders. The monarchy's power has never come from those who demand respect, but from those who earn it through quiet dignity. And then the final line, the one that sealed everything: guard the crown's conscience. That is the truest role of a queen. Signed simply. Elizabeth R. Catherine reportedly read the letter 3 times, her hands shaking as she absorbed every word. Alexandra didn't speak. She just watched, giving Catherine space to feel the weight of the moment. She knew, Catherine whispered. How did she know? She always knew, Alexandra replied. She understood the crown would eventually need someone who could restore what had been lost: dignity, moral grounding, and the trust of the people. And with that, the unspoken truth filled the room like smoke. The Queen Mother believed Camilla would never carry those qualities, and she designed a plan to make sure the monarchy's moral legacy passed straight to Catherine. But secrets like this never stay hidden for long inside royal walls. Within 48 hours, someone, either a staff member or a courier torn between loyalties, told Queen Camilla what had happened. And according to multiple palace insiders, her reaction was explosive. Camilla had built a reputation over the years for staying calm under pressure, brushing off criticism, and handling the toughest headlines with a steady hand. But this cut deeper than anything the public ever said about her. This wasn't the press. This wasn't gossip. This was a judgment from the monarchy's most beloved matriarch. One insider described the scene vividly. Camilla locked herself inside her private study for hours. Staff could hear her voice through the closed door, not words, just the sound of someone shattered emotionally. When she finally stepped out, her face was set, her eyes red, and she spoke to no one, not even the king. Her closest aides tried to soothe her. "They're just jewels," one said gently. "Sentimental pieces, nothing more." But Camilla saw through that instantly. Because this was never about jewels, this was about legacy. The Queen Mother, adored by the public and respected within the family, had looked at Camilla and silently decided she wasn't the one worthy of carrying the monarchy's moral torch. She had chosen Catherine instead, and there was nothing Camilla could do about it. The king's impossible position. King Charles III found himself trapped in a nightmare of competing loyalties. On one side was his wife, the woman he'd loved for decades, fought to be with, and eventually married despite enormous public opposition. The woman who had stood by him when he was the most unpopular royal in Britain, who had endured the storms of public scorn and still remained loyal. Now she was humiliated by his own mother's posthumous rejection. On the other side were his mother's wishes, the Queen Mother's clearly stated intentions, and his daughter-in-law Catherine, who had done nothing wrong except be chosen by history itself. And caught in the middle was his own mother, Queen Elizabeth II, who would have known about this arrangement and said nothing. Palace insiders report that Charles was devastated when he learned the full story. Not angry, devastated. He had spent his entire life trying to honour his family's legacy while also choosing his own path, trying to modernise the monarchy while respecting tradition, trying to protect Camilla while serving the crown. And now his own mother, through her mother, had undermined all of it with a single posthumous gesture. One senior courtier, speaking anonymously, described a private conversation. The king said, "She's still making decisions from the grave. When does it end? When do we get to define this monarchy without ghosts dictating terms?" But Charles also understood the brutal political reality. He couldn't undo this without looking like he was overriding his grandmother's wishes simply to protect his wife's feelings. The optics would be disastrous. The public adored the Queen Mother. They increasingly loved Catherine, and Camilla, despite years of rehabilitation, still carried the baggage of being the other woman who broke up Charles and Diana's marriage. If Charles tried to reclaim those jewels, he wouldn't be seen as defending his wife. He'd be seen as attacking his grandmother's legacy and Catherine's dignity. So he made the most royal decision possible. He said and did nothing. Not out of strength, but out of strategic paralysis. Sometimes in monarchy, the safest choice is silence. Prince William's calculated response. While Charles struggled with indecision, the prince took action. William had always been protective of Catherine. He watched her endure years of brutal media scrutiny before they married. He saw her vilified during their brief breakup. He witnessed her navigate the impossible pressures of marrying into his family with grace and strength, and he was not about to let anyone, including his stepmother, make Catherine feel guilty for receiving what was rightfully hers. According to palace sources, William had a private meeting with his father. The conversation was described as frank but respectful. William reportedly made several points. First, these jewels were never Camilla's to receive. They were personal property, specifically designated for someone the Queen Mother believed embodied her values, and that's Catherine. Denying that would be rewriting history. Second, Catherine didn't ask for this. She didn't scheme or manipulate. Alexandra came to her because she fulfilled a prophecy made before Catherine even entered the family. If anything, this only proved Catherine's character. Third, if they attempted to undo this, it would make them look ashamed of their own grandmother's judgment. It would signal to the world that they believed the Queen Mother was wrong. Was that truly the message they wanted to send? Fourth, and most devastatingly, some things were never yours to give, Father, and therefore not yours to take away. That last line reportedly left Charles speechless. William wasn't challenging his father's authority as king. He was stating a truth Charles already understood, but couldn't bring himself to accept. The decision had been made long before Charles wore the crown, and it was beyond his power to reverse. William's intervention was calculated and brilliant. By framing the situation around respecting the Queen Mother's wishes, rather than as a battle of Catherine versus Camilla, he gave his father a dignified way to accept the outcome, without feeling he had betrayed his wife. But make no mistake, William had chosen Catherine, publicly and definitively, in a way that sent a clear message about who the future of the monarchy belonged to. The public debut. For weeks after receiving the jewels, Catherine kept them private. She understood how explosive the situation was and moved cautiously. But eventually, the moment arrived. Quietly, almost accidentally, at a small charity event for children's welfare. It wasn't a major state occasion. It wasn't televised. And yet, when Catherine appeared wearing the Queen Mother's guardian brooch, the world stopped. An amateur photographer captured the moment. The image spread across social media within hours. Royal watchers immediately identified the brooch and its significance. The headlines wrote themselves, "Catherine wears Queen Mother's personal jewels. The brooch that bypassed Camilla. Queen Mother's legacy. Catherine chosen over Camilla. The return of royal grace. Catherine honours Queen Mother." The palace remained silent, which only intensified speculation. Catherine acted as if the brooch were just a normal accessory rather than the explosive statement it was. But everyone understood what she was doing. She wasn't flaunting triumph. She was accepting a mantle, not arrogantly, not dramatically, but with quiet acknowledgement that she carried the Queen Mother's blessing. The public reaction was overwhelming. British polling showed 71% approved of Catherine receiving the jewels. Only 12% believed Camilla should have been included, and 68% said it proved Catherine was the rightful heir to the Queen Mother's legacy. Social media buzzed with side-by-side images of Catherine wearing the brooch and the Queen Mother at Elizabeth II's coronation. One commentator wrote, "In one simple gesture, Catherine has reminded us what the monarchy is supposed to be. Not about power or position, but about character and service. The Queen Mother saw that in her, and now we see it too." Camilla's retreat, the Queen Consort in shadow. In the weeks and months following this revelation, a noticeable change occurred in Queen Camilla's public presence. She didn't stop performing duties. She didn't make any dramatic statements. She simply diminished. Staff noticed she spent more time alone, quietly withdrawing from the public eye. She declined several high-profile events, citing minor health concerns, though insiders suspected the real reason was far deeper. Her public appearances became more subdued, less confident, almost as if the weight of history pressed down on her shoulders. Friends close to Camilla, speaking anonymously, painted a picture of a woman deeply hurt but striving to maintain dignity. She feels judged, not by the public, not by the press, but by the family itself, by the women who came before her, and there is no appeal, no way to change that verdict. It is final. The jewel situation became a metaphor for Camilla's entire journey, always close to the centre of power, but never fully accepted, always present but never quite belonging. One particularly poignant moment reportedly occurred during a private family gathering. Catherine was wearing a different piece from the Queen Mother's collection, a simple strand of pearls. and Camilla's eyes locked on them for just a moment. Then she looked away. No words were exchanged, but everyone in the room felt the weight of that glance, heavy with unspoken understanding and unvoiced emotion. What this means for the future of the monarchy is profound. Let's step back and analyze what this story tells us about the royal family and where it's headed. First, the past still controls the present. Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, died in 2002, over 20 years ago, yet her wishes, her judgments, and her prophecies still shape royal dynamics today. The monarchy isn't just bound by current traditions, it is haunted by the expectations of those who came before, who understood the stakes of history and influence over decades. Second, character still matters more than position. Camilla holds the official title of Queen Consort, but the moral authority, the spiritual legitimacy, and the public's genuine affection went to Catherine. No amount of official positioning can change that. Third, the monarchy is essentially two institutions. There is the formal constitutional monarchy, the one of state dinners, ceremonial duties, and official obligations, and there is the symbolic, moral monarchy, the one that lives in people's hearts and minds. Catherine now dominates the latter, even while Camilla occupies the former, and that distinction has become unmistakably clear. Fourth, Princess Alexandra's role reveals a hidden power structure within the royal family. Senior royals, even those outside the direct line of succession, can influence the monarchy's direction through moral authority and historical connection. Alexandra wielded more power through that velvet box than many working royals exercised through decades of official duties, proving that true influence can exist quietly, hidden in plain sight. Fifth, this isn't about Camilla versus Catherine. It's about what the monarchy represents. The Queen Mother believed in a vision of royalty rooted in moral exemplar, that royals should embody the best virtues of the nation, not just perform ceremonial functions. By choosing Catherine, she was trying to ensure that vision survived. But our story doesn't end here. While we know about the jewels that were transferred, Palace watchers are asking a much bigger question. What else did the Queen Mother leave behind? Remember those sealed boxes in the royal vault marked only with QM, the ones no one has dared open? Without explicit royal permission, rumours swirl that the boxes hold more than personal trinkets. Royal historians speculate that they could contain extra letters detailing the Queen Mother's vision for the monarchy's future, private diaries with candid observations of family members, specific directives on how traditions should evolve, and maybe even clues about who she thought should or shouldn't inherit the crown's legacy. Princess Alexandra knows what's in those boxes. She's hinted at it in private conversations, but she's not speaking. Not yet. The question is, when will the next revelation come? What other prophecies did the Queen Mother leave behind? And who else might be named or excluded in her final wishes? A legacy reborn. We began this story with a simple act, one elderly princess handing a box of jewels to a younger one. But as we've discovered, nothing in the royal family is ever simple. What looked like a generous gift was actually the fulfillment of a decades-old prophecy. What seemed like a family heirloom transfer was actually a judgment rendered from beyond the grave. What appeared to be about jewellery was actually about the very soul of the British monarchy. Princess Alexandra took an enormous risk by following through on the Queen Mother's wishes. She could have kept those jewels locked away forever, avoided the drama, let the secret die with her, but she chose to honour her aunt's trust, fulfilling a promise made in her dying breaths to ensure that the Queen Mother's vision for the monarchy's future was realised. Catherine accepted that burden with the grace that defined her selection in the first place. She didn't seek recognition. She didn't campaign. She simply lived in a way that fulfilled a prophecy she didn't even know existed. And Camilla, she's learning the hardest lesson anyone in the royal family eventually must. Position can be granted by marriage or by title, but legitimacy, true, deep, moral legitimacy, can only be earned through character. Once lost, it can never quite be reclaimed. King Charles remains caught between the woman he loves and the legacy he inherited. There is no easy resolution, no perfect answer. But here's what we know for certain. The Queen Mother is still shaping the monarchy from beyond the grave. Her voice, her values, her vision, they echo through every room, every palace, every quiet conversation about the crown's future. And through Princess Alexandra's courage and Catherine's grace, that vision has been reborn. So I want to hear from you. Do you think Princess Alexandra was right to bypass Camilla and give the jewels to Catherine, or should she have followed official protocol, regardless of the Queen Mother's personal wishes? And the bigger question, should the dead be allowed to control the living, or do past royals' wishes deserve to be honoured no matter how much time passes? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share your opinion, hit like, subscribe, and share this video with friends. If you were King Charles, what would you do? Would you try to reclaim the jewels to protect your wife's dignity, or let history take its course, even if it means your wife is forever defined by this exclusion? Because this story is about more than royalty. It's about family. It's about loyalty. It's about whether we honour the wishes of those who came before us, even when doing so causes pain in the present. And those are questions every family, royal or not, must eventually answer. Until next time, remember, sometimes the most powerful legacies aren't inherited through bloodline, they're earned through character. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next chapter of this unfolding royal saga, because if there's one thing we've learned, it's this. The Queen Mother's secrets are far from finished revealing themselves. The monarchy will never be the same, and the story is only just beginning.